Hi everyone. So I'm Hannah and I'm here from on the Heart Centered Visionaries podcast. And today I'm super excited to chat to Tamzin. So Tamzin is, well, she's one of my mentors, and I had the privilege of studying with her in Glastonbury back in 2018. So I'm really excited to dive in. How are you doing?
Well, really well, and it's lovely to see you, Hannah, and it's been a joy to just watch your own unfolding journey and all the wonderful things that you've been doing through astrology as well, and that's a joy for me. That's part of the joy of my teaching, is to see everyone else's journey unfold.
Oh, thank you. It's been an amazing journey. It's still very much going on, as it is with astrology, right? But before we dive in, so Tamsin is an astrologer, and you've been practicing for about 20 years, I think. So a long time. And she obviously teaches and she supports John, which is also my other teacher, on the lots of courses you did back in Glastonbury. So yeah, there's so many things I want to dive into. But yeah, I'd love to hear, because I don't know this story, how you found astrology. Like how did it begin? That's quite a big question, but
Well, it's really like a hobby that got seriously badly out of control.
okay.
And I think that's a really nice way to start something when you get, because it's like a whole life calling, and I'm completely passionate about it. So when something starts off like that, it's a very healthy way to explore something, because it's totally different way of looking at life and understanding yourself.
Hmm.
And it all started actually through my mum, who met what then became my mentor, and came back and started talking about how if you have a sun sign, how you can express yourself in a certain way, or where your Mercury is, and that there is this birth chart. And I was like, wow, what's that? And I wonder what she could see on me. And I was absolutely fascinated.
Yeah.
So I had a reading from Helen, and I was just, wow, completely blew me away. Because I've always been really interested in people and what makes them tick.
Mm.
And to have a framework, like blueprint for the soul, and how you think, feel, express yourself in life, habit patterns, etc. Just hooked me completely, and I knew I had to learn it. So off I went, charging off, learning it all.
Yeah.
Um, and my own particular interest in it, I think, is the sort of deep healing that you can bring to it from understanding some of the cycles and patterns that you can go through in your own life.
Mm.
Um,
Definitely
it's,
agree with that. Yeah.
it's a bit like when you go through life and you feel that certain scenarios keep repeating themselves. And the first time it's like a little whisper in the ear of, oh, I'm back in this situation again. And then it's like a sort of louder slap. And we can get stuck in our own way of meeting life and habit patterns. And what we don't want is for that plank to come crashing down on our head to go, whoa, wake up.
Mm.
You need to offer a different perspective to life. You need to consider how you are responding to life.
Mm.
And this is where astrology can be so healthy and healing in helping you to know yourself in a deeper way, and that's very empowering.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful. I love that you had that curiosity, and it goes back to me, it goes back to your Gemini energy of like wanting to understand people. And just like the healing element of what you've said, I think that's so key. Because when I found astrology, I was searching for something else. I didn't know what it was, and it appeared as these things do. And I leapt into it. I remember you saying my Sag moon found the course about 5 days before it started, and I was like, I've got to do that. Intuition led me to the bookshop to John's talk, and then I was signed up to this course for, I think it was 7, 8 months, and there I was.
Yeah, you're just responding to that total instinctual Sag moon. This is my learning. This is my next step. Oh, it's this weekend, right? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And it's a brilliant example of that, because sometimes we can feel, oh, I should be more prepared in my life journey and do things step by step, or we we need to take the word should and ought out of the dictionary, because when you understand how you instinctively respond to life, and then you understand it through your chart, you give yourself permission to just be yourself. And it's great, because in British, you know, we're so, oh, thank you. Oh, I can't possibly absorb that. That's such a nice compliment. You may think that. And now we can go, yes, I'm going to celebrate me.
Totally. I think that's such an important point where you said give people permission. It's like accepting who you are and accepting all those parts in your chart are you, and you're multifaceted, like you said about the blueprint. I love that term. So with that, like what, you know, you were drawn into astrology, and what were like, did you have sort of some gems of wisdom at the beginning of that like hooked you into it? Because you're saying about looking into your behaviors and patterns. Was there like a moment of like, oh my gosh, this is like, this feels really, I feel in tune with this and I've got to follow this path?
No, it was just a gradual dawning and realization of how incredible it was. And quite in awe of the whole subject, really. So I took a number of years of learning and learning and learning and learning a bit more. And I just find it in my social interactions with people, if somebody expressed something which was a bit edgy or incompatible to my own energy, I'd think, oh, I wonder if they've got this signature, so that's why they're wired like that way. And then that made me much more compassionate and accepting of how we all are. So if I take it back one, before I discovered the joy of astrology, when I was in my 20s, which obviously was last week, there was a wonderful film, a wonderful Alfred Hitchcock film called Marnie, which starred Tippi Hedren and Sean Connery when he was absolutely at his most gorgeous, dynamic, sexy self. And in that film, it takes you through the story of a young woman who cannot respond in relationship because of things that she's experienced as a child. It's a really powerful psychological thriller.
Wow.
And I was absolutely hooked, because Sean Connery takes her up and holds her, makes her face her fears, and takes her in the room and forces her mother to tell her what happened in her childhood. Wow. That had shaped her to this woman that she was, that couldn't express herself. And that had a really, I was absolutely gripped by it. And as I went on and learned the astrology, we've all got places that we need to heal. We've all got places that are dark and uncomfortable. We can't always have a wonderfully sexy Sean Connery coming along and holding us and getting us to face that. So how about we do the deep healing ourselves? How about in this move, this sort of incoming divine feminine, this move from patriarchy to matriarchy that's happening with the empowerment of women, but it's also the masculine and feminine signatures within men as well. It's not like bash one thing, move to another. We need to find a place of balance here. And this is where astrology can really help you to explore and understand the dynamics of where you might be stuck in your own expression, because you can't always go and look in front of the mirror every morning and go, I love you, I love you, because you may not know there might be something in there that's stopping you from loving yourself. And astrology can take the pressure off you so that you can have something else to work with, understand something about your ancestral line, understand something that's calling for healing. Because what we all want, don't we, Hannah? We want to be expressing our own unique self based on our own energies and vibes so that we can feel fully empowered.
Definitely, yeah. That's really beautiful. Like you said, I see it almost like my Pisces seeing it. It's like this is a doorway that you walk into that part of yourself, as you said, to give yourself permission so that you can, because I think healing comes from acceptance. So you have to acknowledge it, recognize it, and then work with it. And I think that's a scary place for people to go into, that, you know, their shadows or their fears. It's kind of hidden it under, the metaphor, like hidden in the underworld, you know, like Pluto takes us to. So just having that access, you know, like a life map to do that is just, it's incredibly healing, isn't it?
It is, and you can spend the first half of your life sort of burying everything down there. Oh, I don't like that. I'll just distract myself and I'll be really busy. And I don't want to let these uncomfortable feelings coming up. But we evolve through our emotions, so we can then spend the second part of our life picking them out as we are ready. And that's the key thing for an astrologer, is a level of awareness that somebody wants to go to, because they want to leave you feeling empowered. And there just might be a little something that can come out of the bag that you just want to tease out and explore.
You see, it's almost like you see somebody as they are, in total love and acceptance, and that kind of lets them express themselves more. That's what I found. And I've forgotten, I was going to say something, it's gone now, but you know, you're saying about the divine feminine and masculine. I love that idea. You have to balance both. So I'd love to explore like that. How do you, from your astrology knowledge, how do you dive into that in somebody's chart? Like, what are the, because you love as well, Tamzin works with the asteroids in the chart as well, and that I know you're really passionate about that. So is there, I guess that's a big question, but are there themes you've seen in people's chart that help them connect with the divine feminine and masculine?
Well, it so much is about the relationship with yourself, because at the end of the day, that's going to be the most satisfying relationship throughout your life, and everything flows out from that. And I look at any healing signatures that come up in a chart, wherever they might be, and you know that if something falls on what we call the angle, if something falls on the ascendant, the sign that you're growing into, your rising sign, the descendant where you meet relationship, the midheaven where you meet the world, or the IC, the bottom of the chart where your roots and origins are. If there is a little signature talking to any of those major points of the chart, that's when I dive in. And the asteroids are very helpful, because it's talking about it gives more insights on the masculine and feminine traits within you and how they're getting expression. And Ceres, for instance, is where you love and unconditionally love yourself, and that can be a bit of a tricky concept to get your head around, because if you want other people to love you, then you need to love yourself. And so that can be a really interesting, for instance, as a pointer to look at if it's prominently showing in the chart. It could also be prominent in the chart if it's falling on another planet, what we call conjunct planets. If you've got an asteroid, for instance, on Venus, where you receive love as well, then that's when all the bells go ding dong. And you know, I will have a look at that as well. So the asteroids are small, they're not a planet, and they fall between Mars and Jupiter in the chart, but they can give you signatures before you come out of the personal planets, the ones closest to the sun, and go into more of the social planets. And it can just give you more of a link and more helpful information in this time of massive transition.
Yeah.
And transition and raised awareness. It's absolutely incredible that people are feeling such a calling. And in this really challenging time of COVID, I've never known so many people change direction, find a life direction, and feeling empowered, because everything has been pulled away, everything they've known as normal. And what you're left with is yourself. So do you like what you see? Do you feel that you know yourself? It's tricky. It's a really tough time to have that sort of realization. And that's why the chart is such a incredibly helpful thing to explore.
Definitely, yeah. It's beautiful what you share, and I think that uncertainty, people aren't used to that because they've got into their routines and their, you know, life that maybe is not quite for them, and then they start discovering this new world of possibility. I think that the chart is like possibility of like all these things, that untapped potential, and you know, I know, as you know my chart pretty well, that when I found astrology, it was like the beginning of my Saturn return. So thank goodness I found it. I mean, I felt lucky that I found it at that time, because I understood what was happening, that, you know, all these big questions Saturn wanted me to ask, you know, who are you and what are you doing and what are the foundations you're building, which I probably gave me a direction to follow. You know, it brought me back to myself. So I think that those transits we go through as well are just so important in not freaking out, because I could have had an absolute meltdown, you know, and go, what is happening? Am I having a early midlife crisis? But I understood what was happening, and actually now feel so much more like stable because of it. But if I didn't know, I would have felt pretty lost and confused. So, you know, I think astrology is a great tool for that.
Well, it's interesting because tuning into the archetypal energy of this planet signifies this, and when it comes around in the cycle, it can be a time of change, is really helpful, as you say, to know and understand. So I would never dream of saying to somebody, oh, this and this is going to manifest in your life, because you can't possibly know, because at the end of the day, we've got free choice, free will about how we respond to life events. But it is helpful if you have an outer heavy planet that's sitting on your sun, how you express yourself, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, what's happening here? It's very helpful that we can trace, isn't it? And we can see how long that process is likely to last, and what the benefits of knowing yourself at a deeper level can be from you when you come out of this. And sometimes it's only like a year later or whatever, you can go, oh, okay, I get what that was about.
Yeah, when you're in it, you can't quite see, but it's, yeah, it is that process. So what do you think, you know, I know there's lots of things you mentioned about the healing aspects, understanding yourself. Are there some like real big shifts that you've experienced in your life as a, you know, as a result of kind of being open to astrology and your chart?
Oh, massive self-acceptance of myself,
Mm.
of my family of origin, where I've come from, how I kind of chosen to have some difficult experiences, chosen in quotes because they can be painful, and how going on the basis of my own acceptance people can draw from now, because life becomes simpler the more, for me now, I don't need to complicate it, because I sort of carry around a map in my head of what's going on in the heavens and then how it's falling on the chart.
Beautiful.
So it's interesting with your beautiful moon group that you're doing, of learning about the moon going through the sky and how it moves through the signs. You know, today it's falling on a soul part for me, and of expression. So it feels really nourishing and healthy to be talking to you about my passion for astrology. And the
timing.
yeah, and it's falling on, in my chart in the sky, the moon as we speak is falling on Ceres, of how I can love and accept myself, and the more I do that, then I can share what I've learned, and people can come to me and draw from their own chart whatever comfort they need to at that time, or whatever signature that they want to explore. So yeah, I've always been a really strong thinker, as you know, with all my Gemini planets and
yes,
everything going off. So to have a map that I can tune into when somebody comes to me for a reading, and I can just go, oh look, that's connecting with that, and this is this, and I wonder that. It's a beautiful use of the mind.
yeah.
But then I also know that I have a strong Taurus part, that when my head's off like a Catherine wheel, and I'm saying, no, you really need to calm down now, that I can just go and tune into nature and the senses, maybe have a massage, and it's all dreamy and relaxing. So I feel really grateful that I've got to know myself.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's so important. I think that's one of the most important things of life, that we need to get back to who we are and what makes us unique. And that's what I've seen with clients. Is it's somebody said to me the other week that I've worked with on and off, is she said, oh, coming up to Valentine's Day, she's doing a blog about relationships. And she said, my husband is the grounded, practical one. And I'm the, lots of Pisces energy, dreamy, intuitive one. And she said she used to compare herself to him because he was grounded and practical. And she thought, well, but that's not me. And she's come to accept that she's different, and actually they complement each other. So I think that's really key in this world, like where we can compare ourselves so easily, that we need to come back to what makes us unique. And definitely astrology is a tool for that. And the archetypes, can help us do that.
Yes, and I've also been doing some work recently with couples who've met each other later on in life.
Right.
And entrenched habit patterns, and they're going, I want to change this. I want to offer out a new vibration of my energy. I want to know, I want to understand myself better, so that when something happens, a life event, I don't respond to it from my pained, wounded self, that I respond to it from an empowered place. So I still respond, and it'll always be a work in progress, but I have more knowledge about myself and my triggers, that I can move into a place of a different place of acceptance within myself and within my relationship. So I've been finding that really quite beautiful. But the other one I love doing is I love doing teenagers.
Oh, okay.
I've had a few choosing GCSE choices
Mm.
and university choices.
Wow, that's really helpful. It
I
must.
wish I wish you'd been there for me when I was that age, Hannah.
Oh, yeah. I wish I'd known about that when I was that age, you know, because I think at that age you don't know what you want and you don't know who you are, and you've got to make this big decision about university when you don't know what you are good at, you know? So
Or
that,
you're feeling conflicted. So I had a beautiful 17-year-old girl, and she had this really strong desire to travel.
mm,
But I want to train to be a doctor, and that they're just not marrying up, and I just don't know what to do. And I said, well, what about Medicine Sans Frontières, and what about traveling while you are a doctor for a while,
yeah,
and see where that takes you.
fabulous.
To choose. Oh wow. So you can find a middle way through the sort of conflicting sides to yourself.
Mm. I love that actually because I can relate to, you know, there's that Sag moon Sag for me where just wants to go off traveling and learn and be in the moment. And then there's a part of me, my Capricorn, that just wants to be grounded and I'm a bit more cautious. So it's like honoring all the different parts of you because they work together. I think that's
Well,
what.
they complete who you are, and it's like honoring the conventional and non-conventional side to you. Because
Mm.
when people meet me initially, they think I'm really conventional, and within about 10 minutes, oh, maybe not. And I have a son who is a break dancer, the
Mm.
master's in economics,
Amazing.
and enjoys teaching.
Mm.
So when he's relaxing, he's break dancing. When he's working, he's using his master's in economics.
Mm.
And during lockdown, he's been doing one-to-one teaching with children at home.
Oh, beautiful.
And so to be able to pick apart three very different signatures,
Yeah.
I said to him, well, you know, do it all.
Mm. But you giving him that permission is probably also what we need to hear in life, isn't it?
I
And
hope so.
yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's what every parent tries to do. You just want to
Mm.
help your children out there in the world. But this gives you more tools to do that.
Mm. Mm. So, because your family will know you're so passionate about astrology, how does that, do you go digging into their charts? Are they happy for you to look at their charts?
Um, well, you have to ask them. I don't really feel the need to dig as such, or to look. I mean, it's completely unethical, whoever somebody is, to look without somebody's permission.
Yes.
And that's why in couples work, I won't look at somebody else's chart unless I have permission of both parties.
Mm.
And I think that perhaps what I do is that I will try and respond intuitively to the scenario that they might be sharing with me from the knowledge of their chart and my knowledge of what's going on in the heavens.
Yeah.
So basically, people might think they're having a normal conversation with me, but actually I have such an active mind. It's, oh, I wonder if that's a bit of Mars and Leo going on in there, in that expression, or I wonder if it's this. So
Mm.
I'm at a sort of more of an intuitive stage now. I've done the hard work. I've learned it all by rote. It's the only subject that we're going to be using our left and right sides of our brain. And as you know, we go through that painful, you learn it all and then you apply it.
Mm.
So I've sort of let go about it, obviously in the family environment, or else it would be, everyone would feel they were being analysed the whole time, and that would be unhealthy.
Be the psychologist.
So I don't do that, but I do, if the situation applies for people in that I'm close to, I will think, I wonder how you will respond to that from your own energy makeup, and then that's what I say accordingly.
Because you can give them insights. I mean, that's super helpful for people, to understand what's happening. Just a little plant some seeds there.
Yes,
you know?
and it's always a working balance as to how many seeds you plant, because at the end of the day, it's your journey. And the best thing that an astrologer can do is actually sometimes less.
Yeah.
It's a really strange concept. You might remember we did that at the end of the advanced term, when we said, when you're with your client, when you were doing that as part of the assignment, put out a few signatures and see what the client says, because it's the client's journey and people don't have enough time to talk about themselves these days.
Yes.
We've lost all of those structures, and sometimes, somebody doesn't want a total technical download. They want one or two signatures that are really appropriate to where they are now. And as you know, that's something that emerges through experience.
Definitely, yeah. I used to, at the beginning, write notes, pages of notes for
So did I.
and it's a process you go through, and they probably thought, oh my gosh, what is all this? But obviously you improve and get better with time. But going back, I wanted to go into, because you were saying about working with couples and like the relationship dynamics, I guess. So, because that's something I really am always drawn to in the chart is, we have the ascendant, which is how we're seen and how we're meant to move through the world. And then there's the descendant, which is, the people we're meant to be attracted to and kind of subconsciously attracted to. But how do you use those dynamics to help people? Or how can people start connecting with their descendant in their chart? Because I think there's some juicy insights in there for people.
Well, you look at what sign of the zodiac is on the descendant point where you meet people in relationship, and each sign of the zodiac has a planet that rules it, and then you look to see how that is playing out in the chart. And that can give you more information. It's very effective with couples to just go, well, you think and feel like that, and he thinks and feels like that, and then they're like, oh, so you're not being a total bastard, you're just actually think and feel like that. Yes. And it takes the personal out of it. And if there is something you haven't dealt with within yourself or you're not aware of, then guess what comes up on the descendant? It's almost like a magnet, mirror something, because if we evolve through our emotions, then we need to be emotionally connected to somebody in order to experience something and to learn through the emotions. So that's why the 7th house, the descendant point going on, can be the point of open enemies, because if you've met together and it hasn't worked out and you've parted, then you're left with that scenario, which is very painful. So how much better to cut it off at source as much as we can and do the work on ourselves first. And they don't teach you that at school about doing the work. They teach you a whole lot of other things. But wouldn't it be more beneficial if we were taught about ourselves more in a different way, and how we can change things and how we emotionally respond to life, along with basic things like more cooking and how to manage your finances and your health and going on like that? I would love to see a bit more practical information coming in. So if you go back to the chart, yes, you look at that descendant point, and then you obviously look at where Venus and Mars is, but it's always tricky to just say, give me a short answer, because everybody's chart's different, because everybody's different and unique. And you just look at a chart and you can sort of dive into it, and you get a feel for a signature. And then you can explore and say, I'm seeing this, how has this panned out for you? And then you let the person, you let their own story and their own life unfold. Beautiful holding scenario, which you honor completely, obviously, with your beautiful Pisces energy as well. You know about the total confidentiality. And it's only when people are feeling really safe that they feel that they can really open up to you. And one of the things that I'm sure you hear as well, people saying, I've never told anybody this before.
Yeah.
And that's the most beautiful compliment, because they feel safe to go to that place that is wounded, that or doesn't even have to be desperately wounded, but somewhere that they're uncomfortable about, that they want to have more clarity about.
It is a beautiful experience that somebody's trusting you with that they can say what they feel they need to, and they know it's like a safe container for them, which is a beautiful thing to do. So we could talk to you all day, honestly. So like, what are you doing now? Because I know you're running some courses, you're doing your one-to-one readings. How can people work with you?
Well, if you are interested in learning about astrology, then I'm supporting John Wadsworth on through Kairos Astrology, Kairos, and that's in-depth beginners online course, and we're going to be moving on to an advanced course this autumn.
Beautiful.
I'm also going to be running with Lorraine Grayston a asteroid, looking at the inner masculine and feminine signatures within us in the autumn. I'm just clarifying that date at the moment, so I'm doing that in probably looking at October. And you can find me through my website, which is eruditeastrology.com.
Love the name. So I can't even say it. So Gemini, like with the play on language. It's great.
And the reason it's come together, I mean, erudite in itself, Erudite, is the apartment of great knowledge. And my erudite comes from Eros, Greek god of love, and Aphrodite, Venus. And you put them together, you get Erodite.
I think it's perfect for you. Like all this, you know, the Venusian, divine feminine asteroids that you're working with as well. Sums it up lovely.
Thank you. It really resonated with me. So yes, that's what I'm doing, and then I'm doing one-to-one readings. But there's all the information on my website if anybody's interested.
Beautiful. I'll add it in the I'll add the link so they can contact you. But I highly recommend the you know, any courses with Tamzin and John. They're really amazing, and it's a really embodied way of learning astrology. It's not just in the head. It's like we did some like psychodrama and like meditations to drop into the energy. So do have a look at that. And sorry.
Very deep learning, absolutely.
Very deep. Amazing. So do you have any last words of wisdom for people?
Oh goodness, they put me on the spot then. It's nice to know there's a chance to live your life in a different way. And as I understand myself better, I feel younger. So all I can say is that's not a bad way to get older.
Definitely. You're as young as you feel, especially with that Gemini playful energy. Beautiful. Thank you, Tamzin. It's been lovely a joy to connect with you and hear all your wisdom and hear about your story. So thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Lovely to see
you. All right. Thank you. And bye, everyone. Oh.
Bye-bye.